Hi, I'm Nan Simonsen. I am a nationally board certified health and wellness coach. I want to thank you for joining me on my channel, Aging Powerfully. And I am going to be doing a presentation on Thursday, one that I did, I don't know, a month or so ago to a organization here in my area. And it's right up my alley because I wrote Aging Powerfully to celebrate turning 70, to celebrate my realization that that wasn't the beginning of the end. That was the beginning of another 10, 20, 30 years of life. And I might as well fill it to the brink. And I've set about to do that. I'm now 74. And I am a health and wellness coach for a lifestyle medical practice called Blue Zones Health. So everything is falling into place. I see my future as one of making a difference and helping other people understand that whatever health maladies they have, it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, that we can, through lifestyle as medicine, oh, overcome a lot, not everything. I lost a husband 15 years ago to something I don't know that a change in lifestyle would have avoided a cancer, esophageal cancer that was not alcohol or smoking related, but some things that he was exposed to way back in Vietnam in the 60s. But I don't know how I got into that one. Let's get back to the subject, which is the art of aging powerfully with lifestyle choices that empower you. So I did a PowerPoint for that group a while ago. I'm doing one for the group on Thursday, and I thought, why not share it with you? If you've watched my channel, my cooking classes, my PowerPoints, points of interest as they relate to lifestyle as medicine, you pretty well know the story that I help people understand about their agency as it relates to health. But this is kind of fun because I'm doing it with photos and pictures in a PowerPoint. So I'm going to take you with me and let me get that up and we will get this started. And here we go. And there we go. Continue to share. Okay. So, Aging Powerfully. This is the cover of my audio book. You've seen the book. The audio book is also available. And because it's square, it just fit better here on this slide. So, what are we going to talk about? Well, let's begin with people who I found very inspirational through my journey as a health and wellness coach researching um, aging well. And this is Dr. Warham. This was in his 90s. At 95, he was in the surgery room for heart surgery. No, it wasn't his. He was a vascular surgeon, a heart surgeon, and he was assisting uh, in the surgeries at 95 years old. This is Deborah Seke, her as a young woman. And in 1940, she and her husband, a professor and an expert on, well, I'll say aging powerfully because they believed in the a healthier lifestyle, and they began Rancho La Puerta. This is Deborah at 99, and she is now 100 years old. As a matter of fact, this weekend I leave for Rancho La Puerta, and I'll be there for a week. Chef AJ will be there, and I will be her sous chef at her 3 cooking classes. And Chef AJ is a huge inspiration to those of us who live a whole food plant-based diet. And she's been a vegan for 45 years, but as she says, a junk food vegan, which got her nowhere until she started eating whole foods that were plant-based. This is Judy Goodman. Judy on the left was in her 90s, and I was at a friend's house, actually my mentor's house, Sylvia Boyd, whom I met in 1978 when I joined Tupperware. She was the Tupperware company owner, and she has been a mentor to me my entire life. Well, this was at her house in Pacific Palisades. Yes, her house burnt down when the rest of the Palisades burnt, but Sylvia, who is now 93 or 4, is still very much with us and living life beautifully still. So this was Judy in her 90s. This is Judy on the right at her birthday, which I attended at 106. A couple of months after this photo was taken, she died quietly in her sleep. That's aging powerfully. Dan Buettner did a study, oh gosh, in 2010, about 2010, to find the communities in the world with the longest living people. He was looking especially for centenarians, people over 100, who are living strong and healthy at those ages. From that, he wrote The Blue Zones, 9 Lessons to Living Longer. And he has had a huge impact on America because after he wrote this book, after he went back and watched and listened to not just how they live, which he had done in the first place, but how they made their food, what they were eating, how they nourished themselves. He came back with the Blue Zones Kitchen and the Blue Zones American Kitchen, our people from early ages and how they cooked and what they cooked that was still part of the land, whole food, plant-based, and wrote those 2 cookbooks. Well, Dan Buettner decided then that if we were inspired by other communities all over the world, and they are, by the way, Sardinia in Italy, Icaria in Greece, the Nicoya Peninsula of Costa Rica, Okinawa, Japan, an island off of Japan, and the Loma Linda community in California of Seventh day Adventists, which is about 15 minutes from my home. He knew that, yes, we could and should be inspired by them and their life lessons, but why not make the healthy choice, the easy choice, and reconfigure communities in America? He's done that with 70 of them. He's working on another 30 more. He and his group are giving advice, giving guidance. We were able to, at Blue Zones Health, name ourselves after them, the only medical practice with 230 doctors so far of lifestyle practicing doctors that were able to use that name, Blue Zones Health. And I'm with that company, and I feel very privileged to have been, and I have been for 7 years, but we became Blue Zones Health at the end of last year. And this is 2025, so at the end of 2024. So my point is that I am especially proud, well, first of all, to know the people that we are highlighting. For example, this is Bernice. I'll leave the last name out. She is one of the patients I work with at Blue Zones Health, and she's proudly said, I decided a while ago I wanted to live to 100. Having a purpose means everything. We've been to many, or it means everything. And we've been to many classes that drive us to stay healthy. The group that is there every week, I'm going to say proudly, that's a group that one of the groups that they go to is one that I work with, a support group I've worked with for 7 years now at Lifestyle Medical and Blue Zones Health. As she says, every week is consistent because nobody wants to miss it. It's like a family, and that's what community can do for us, and it's a major part of living into our later years. You can live like the longest living people in the Blue Zones, the longest lived, by living the way they do to a degree. And my city just kicked off an announcement in May that we are now one of the chosen cities in America that is on a 5-year plan to become one of the healthiest cities in America by affecting how they eat in schools, what restaurants are offering. They can keep their regular menus, but they're now offering Blue Zones approved food choices so that we can find the healthy choice throughout our city, bike lanes and walking paths and parks and recreational facilities that embrace people. And there are pillars of health that I follow and that I speak of. The American College of Lifestyle Medicine, of which I'm an affiliate member, has 6 general pillars of health that we have condensed into 4. And those pillars are up here on the left. Nutrition. And the recommendation is a whole food, plant-based diet or plant-centered diet, or as many plants as a person can get in, which will help crowd out the things that are causing disease, like processed foods. There's also a second pillar that's worked into that one, and that is staying away from addictive and harmful substances. Next to the right is movement. We're advised to move every day with a total of at least 150 minutes a week or more. We'll talk more about that. And then down on the left, community. The need for us as a tribal people, ancestrally, to be part of something, a part of a group, part of family, part of a community that makes a difference, that we know we matter to somebody and that others matter to us. And then finally, a word we use for sleep and stress management, combining two others, is resilience. We can't get through life, regardless of what we do right, without sleeping and sleeping well and making that a priority in our life. So, how do we do that? Let's look at what that looks like for movement, physical activity for cardiovascular health. So, that would be your aerobic exercise. For strength, that would be resistance training. For flexibility, things like Tai Chi and yoga. Neuropathy or naturopathy, that means getting out in the sunlight, getting out in fresh air, taking a walk regularly among trees and shrubs and nature can have a big influence on the way we process life and the way we are able to, well, first of all, it affects the microbiome, even though that's a inner part of us of microbes that are taken primarily or affected primarily by our food. But even the air outside can affect us in a positive way, especially when it's in nature. So the activities of daily living can all be part of this. Not sitting without regular movement could and should become a rule. This is a group that I had seen for over a decade, walking up our nearby mountain. It's about 1,000 feet from the base. It's here in Riverside, California, 60 miles east of LA. So I think our total elevation might about above sea level might be 40, 80 feet, something like that. And this group is, I'm going to say, enriched by the woman right in the middle, just behind the dog, and that is Jane. Jane in this photo is 94, and she was up that mountain every day. This was me having decided at 70 that I was going to start running. I had never run, not even down the block. I thought I couldn't. I thought I didn't want to. And I decided, you know what? They're doing a local run at our historic Mission Inn after COVID. Um, was over, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to take a run. It was a 10K, so that's 6.2 miles. And I did it. And I did 2 more 10Ks, and then I built up enough to be able to do a half marathon. That's 13 point something miles. And I actually did that, all of that after 70. And how and why? Well, because I just decided I was going to, and I decided it was possible. We can all do that. Next to me is Elena. Elena is now 81 years old, and she's working on a half marathon that she's going to do in March of this upcoming year. This is July of 25, and that would be March of 24. In the meantime, just for the fun of it, she'll go and run 5 miles. So, yes, we can do that. Cycling is my favorite way to find nature away from my general residential community. So I get on my bike at least 4 times a week. What do I do the other 3 days? That's when I go into well, it's now a gym, and I work out with a resistance training program for 45 minutes on those 3 mornings a week, and then jump on my bike and ride for at least 30 to 45 minutes or an hour to get out in nature, but also to get movement. And I even aim for hills. Any of us can find a thing we love to do. I am almost addicted to those bike rides and the way it makes me feel to be out on our river bottom path. You can look at what you love to do. It can be golf. It can be gardening. It can be, well, Tai Chi and the more quiet movements like yoga. It can simply be dancing to the best songs that you know in your own kitchen or with a dear friend. That all counts as movement. Resilience. At least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And if you've got a pen and paper, write down the word prioritize. We have to prioritize that. That means no, I don't stay up late enough to see a late show. Just uh, record it if you need to, but you go to bed in time to wake up in time to get out in fresh air while it's still cool enough in the summer to get your exercise in. So you prioritize sleep above other things, and it's amazing what you can get in. Stress management on a daily basis. Meditate for a little while every day. It actually changes your brain. I have a program that I use on, well, no, it's not an app. I just find it on YouTube and I just go back to it every night. It's a 12-minute called Curtin, Kryan, I believe, Kriya, Kryan. And it's a 12-minute meditation that even Harvard studied and said affects the neurons and our um, growth pathways in the brain. Releasing and replacing is your way of taking the time, quite often journaling will help with this, to look at a situation and release the things that are not serving you well and replace it. It's very much like cognitive therapy, uh, cognitive behavioral therapy, and replace it with thoughts that are elevating, that are full of gratitude, and that leave you with a calmer state of mind. Reset and renew each moment all day, weekly and annually with events that can give you something to look forward to and gives you a chance to break some daily cycles and see things in a new way on a regular basis. The circadian rhythm is something that all warm-blooded living things are affected by. It's usually affected most by the movement of the sun. The light and dark affects the way our bodies not only create hormones, but when we are at our peak in terms of our strength, our athletic ability, and when our body knows it needs to sleep. I say all of that because this is something that we can't neglect. And that's why it's recommended that everybody, without even having to know the importance or the specifics of the circadian clock, that everybody knows that 7 to 8 or 9 hours of sleep a day can make a difference to you, not only psychologically and mentally and in terms of preventing things like Alzheimer's, but also the way you digest your food and the way you feel your strength and the way you get through your days. It's that important. So prioritizing sleep. And sleep is metabolically active. What we learn during the day has been shown to be processed during sleep and stored in terms of what needs to be stored and released and let go, including at a cellular level with sloughing of old cells called autophagy, um, while we sleep as well, a necessary process. Eating mindfully and gratefully is one way that we can get through our days in a meditative or a calmer way. Yoga and meditation. This was my 5-year old grandson, and he's now, gosh, 12. And he still, from time to time, does meditation because they taught it to him. Knowing that on a daily basis, we can create our own quiet space with a hot tub, lights, candles, smells, reading. Create your own anywhere in your house place to have some solitude, and it makes a difference. And then remembering to laugh every chance you get. I saw this and I wanted to share it. I just thought it was adorable. All it took was a good night's sleep. He's telling his other raccoon friend. Oh, I just think that's as cute as it comes, which doesn't say much about things, does it? All right, connectedness. Social support means family, friends, groups, and networks. That's horizontal connectedness. Spiritual supports mean purpose, meaning, presence, being in this world in the way you think, in the way you feel, in the way you appreciate it, and that's called vertical connectedness. All of that is important. This is a group we call ourselves We Three, and mm, it's painful to say that our friend Nancy on the left is in hospice now. She contracted a pathogen when she was taking care of a friend's storage unit who had traveled all over the world. And that pathogen in her lungs has given her interstitial lung disease, and there's nothing that can be done. But we three still love each other deeply. My family at one of the holidays, Easter, which includes now my husband, who is well, I don't know, I've got my cursor on his face. That is my second husband. I was married 40 years, and my first husband passed, as I said, esophageal cancer. And this is Tim. We've been married 13 years. Well, when I married Tim, this was my family before, my one son and his two sons. And now I've gained two daughters. This is Jackie, and her sister is only a year older. They both had babies within 5 weeks of each other. And her sister, who's in New Mexico, also has a 5-year-old. So family, or anybody's family that you can adopt, is important. And this is what happens when you take the time to gather with them. They grow and grow and grow. This is my extended family. Purpose. When people say, oh, you've got to have purpose, so many people will feel that they don't have the answer to that. So this little chart might help. If we take the three topped circles, what you're good at, what you love doing, and what the world needs, you can find purpose. What are you really good at? What do you love to do? Can the world use what you have to offer? I feel that my purpose to spread the word that lifestyle as medicine and what that actually looks like, these simple choices that we can make to empower ourselves simply needs to be not easy, but simply needs to be repeated again and again until people understand that they have agency in how they're living their lives and how well or poorly they're aging. If someone is looking for a profession or a vocation, then whether or not you can get paid at it can make the decision, let's say, safer in terms of what somebody needs to get through their upcoming years. So when you take the first three, they are a passion and a mission statement. The bottom, a profession or vocation. And then believing in something greater than ourselves in any way, whether it's the universe, whether it's a God, whether it's just believing that there has to be something out there that can do the marvelous things we see around us and maybe help quell the things that we fear that we see around us. And then finally, nourishment. And finally, not because it's the least important, but quite frankly, whatever you put in your body becomes you at a cellular level. Nutrition is the food we eat, water, and the other things we drink. Anything else that goes into our system, tobacco, harmful drugs, pollutants, toxic substances, alcohol, all of those can take away from what we do right because of the effect of what it does. The foods, unfortunately, that most of America and most of the developed world is now eating isn't food. It's manufactured food-like products that have very little in them that can serve our body because our body knows one thing. It knows pure food and what to do with it. We all have a microbiome which has trillions of microbes of all kind, bacteria and viruses, good viruses, and something called archaea. And that microbiome, they estimated about 5 pounds, 3 to 5 pounds, all over our body, but primarily in our gut, is hmm, it's almost like a pharmacy because what we put in it creates either a bad, we'll call it a medical milieu, or a good medical milieu. The food on the right serves us well. The food on the left, every bite of that damages the microbiome. So these causes of death in our country and most developed countries, the top, the heart disease, cancer, um, strokes, diabetes, a lot of these, they say 70% of chronic illness now is lifestyle related. Things like infections may be different, and things like certain inherited diseases are different, but so much of what we are dying from is lifestyle related. Dr. Lustig, who is a cardiologist, or is he a gastroenterologist? Hmm. Anyway, Dr. Lustig is a medical doctor who wrote a number of books, has written a number of books, but he is fearless. He's not afraid of industry. And this um, metabolical is his finger pointing that processed foods, um, nutrition, and modern medicine are not under, at least don't appear to be, under the purview of anyone that has an interest in actually helping us, but that they are all the processed food, at least that we eat, the nutrition as it's put together, and modern medicine are basically a money-making proposition. And he says, this is what we look like as a country and basically as a society on the right because of the foods we eat on the right. And this is what a whole food, plant-based, plant-centered diet can look like on the left. I've lived my life for 7 years now with that food on the left, except because I'm completely vegan or whole food plant-based. The difference between whole food plant-based and vegan is, first of all, the philosophy of and the desire for the animals. But whole food plant-based also means that just because there's no no animal in it, doesn't make it okay. For example, a Coke, that burger without the patty, um, and gosh, the French fries could be vegan, but they're certainly not a health food. People are fed by the food industry, which pays no attention to health, and are treated by the health industry, which pays no attention to food. If we can remember that, if we can embrace it, and this is where a lot of people just fall down. They want to live better, they want to eat better, they want to lose weight, they want to be able to move without pain, but they are so inundated by the messages around them that swimming upstream is just too hard. I decided 7 years ago to bond with the people that have the message that I believe: whole food, plant-based, clean eating, movement on a daily basis was the way I was going to go. And I keep my attention on the people that promote that, that practice it, and believe it, so that when I'm influenced by, well, let's face it, 90% of our influences come from the people with the money that want to sell us these, well, lifestyle choices that will put us down. We can stay strong. So, nourishment guidelines, Michael Pollan wrote in defense of food. He says our general approach to food is more important than the specific types of food, but in general, the best nutritional advice yet is that um, oh, that we should eat food not too much and mostly plants. Whole food plant-based, what does that look like? Well, it means plant protein for one, and the research has shown on the right that plant protein is highly anti-inflammatory, and you can screenshot this and study it all. On the left, that animal protein is pro-inflammatory. In other words, it's highly inflammatory in every one of these ways. And when people think they're improving their health by increasing the amount of protein, and that protein in their mind is animal protein, you can see why our country is getting sicker by the day. This is whole food plant-based, fruits and vegetables and tubers and legumes and cruciferous vegetables and alliums, the garlics and the onions and the green onions and the beans and the seeds and the nuts. That's all whole food plant-based. What do they do for us besides the protein? This is a rainbow of colors. You can screenshot this as well. The phytonutrients, the antioxidants are what give us, based on the color of the food, different, different nutritional powerhouses that affect different parts of our body, like the carotenoids, the orange, the yams and carrots and sweet potatoes and mangoes and pumpkins. They have the beta carotenes, which is a carotenoid, help us with our immune system and are powerful antioxidants. If you have oxidation, you have inflammation. If you have inflammation, you have disease. What does cancer grow in? It grows in inflammation. So every disease that most people get in the richest country in the world, and number 25 in terms of health rating, not every one of them, but many of them can be quelled by a diet that's full of phytonutrients, phytochemicals, plant proteins, whole food plant-based that is full of fiber as a dietary base, and then a sense of humor. Isn't that adorable? Mandarins. So what does it look like? Well, that orange or those mandarins would have been a great breakfast. This is a buckwheat pancake with blueberries and fruit on it and a little bit of date syrup. Uh, Oat groats or rolled oats or steel cut oats and soy milk. And by the way, soy is very healthy. The old belief that it was a problem with its phytoestrogens has been debunked again and again. As a matter of fact, it's protective. So that soy milk instead of dairy, will give you as much protein as dairy, but without the estrogens from the mother cow, um, and without the other things like antibiotics and growth hormones and um, other things that are in our animal products now. So that could have been breakfast. This would be a beautiful lunch. A mixed green salad with beets and roasted squash and pecans and sprouts, nourishment, and flavor. This happens to be my husband's lunch every day. We have a salad on the lower left, and we have air fried potatoes on the upper left, and then the what looks like a butterfly wing situation is open face avocado sandwiches with onion and tomato and lettuce on that, and then a plate of crudités and a little bit of apple every day. I love, well, I have to go gluten free, but I also love a burger, and my burgers are simply bean burgers, and they're just as delicious as a animal-based burger. Tacos. Every Sunday we go to a vegan restaurant called Oasis here in Riverside. And the tacos that we get could be, they're all vegan, but they could be soy protein. Um, what do they call those? Crumbles. We don't do that, but I love their tofu. And they have things like jackfruit, but we get tacos that are made with tofu and then a lot of roasted vegetables and citrus slaw and roasted potatoes and roasted mushrooms up there on the plate on the left. And then even roasted potatoes. Oh, I mentioned the potatoes and the other vegetables. So who's eating well? Whole food plant-based people can eat really well, including dessert. This was one that I made for a birthday party, and I made a number of them in a silicone muffin dish that had this sort of fluted shape. I offer a booklet in my website, it's Simonsen.com. It was a program that I put on for a senior center, 7 hours of videos, as well as I think it's 27 recipes, taking someone from breakfast to lunch to dinner. But the videos also include, besides that, a overview of kitchen equipment, and that's available on my website for purchase. I think it's $29.99. So what does a healthy plate look like? And this was from Harvard. If we're not filling ourselves up with meat, well, you could do a healthy protein. Maybe you'll have a quarter of your plate with a meat you feel you just can't do without. On my plate, it's beans or soy or high protein grains like quinoa, but there's also carbohydrates. So that could be from potatoes or grains or more beans. Vegetables and fruits take up at least half of that plate. Stop and look at your plate on a daily basis. What does it look like? Do you have fruits and vegetables? A lot of raw and some cooked, and grains and proteins. And instead of dairy, just water. Water is great. We want 8 to 10 glasses a day unless we have a reason not to. And then finally, there I am at 74. I want to be there doing that when I'm 90 and 100, walking on the sand, feeling great, no pain anywhere, and knowing I brought it on myself because of the choices I made. When I'm 90, that's what I want to look like. All wrinkled and aging powerfully, having a ball. And on the last day of the last sunset, I want to know that I lived it the way I wanted to and squared the curve. In other words, live, 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 and then boom, die quickly, rather than what we see all around us, which is people getting sicker and sicker starting in their 40s and 50s, and then going through medical processes after medical processes the rest of their years. Nope. Square the curve, go down, and go down in a burst of energy until that energy is gone. And that's all. So, what is aging powerfully about? Well, I've got about a 30-page memoir in here, which explains, well, that things weren't always easy for me. And that where I am now, I came through grit to get to, including a rather serious eating disorder for decades and decades that I was able to leave behind 7 years ago, even though it was predicted I'd never be able to stop because it had gone on for so long. And then things that happened, like the death of my husband, got through that, got through all of that, found lifestyle as medicine, found a place that I could be inspired as a lifestyle and medical coach. I'm nationally board certified now. Uh, and the book has 10 lifestyle modalities. Powerfully is an acronym for 10 lifestyle modalities that a person can embrace to add years to their life and life to their years. And that's all. I hope you got something out of this. If you did, please subscribe. If you're not subscribed and you're listening, it's always helpful for people to know how to find, well, I'll say words of encouragement and wisdom that help us again age powerfully. Have a great day. I know I'm going to give it a thumbs up and hope to see you again. Bye bye.